The first rays of dawn crept over the United Nations headquarters in New York, casting long shadows across the gleaming conference room, where history was about to be rewritten. Dr. Elena Rodriguez sat perfectly still, her tailored charcoal suit a stark contrast to the holographic displays dancing around her. Each projection represented decades of humanity's most closely guarded secrets, technologies developed in hidden laboratories, global defense networks that existed only in whispers, and contingency plans that would make most civilizations tremble. Ambassador Vexnar of the Concordance entered the room, his crystalline form shifting with colors that typically conveyed absolute confidence. Standing nearly 3 meters tall, the alien representative was used to intimidating lesser species. His neural tendrils, capable of reading emotional responses with terrifying accuracy, extended slightly, a customary gesture of psychological evaluation. What Vexnar didn't realize was that humanity had been preparing for this moment for generations. The conference room itself was a marvel of hidden technology. What appeared to be simple glass walls were actually sophisticated quantum-locked defense barriers. The conference table, seemingly made of polished obsidian, contained more computing power than entire planetary networks of most known civilizations. Representatives of Earth, Vexnar began, his translator producing a voice that was simultaneously melodic and authoritative. The Galactic Concordance extends an invitation of integration. Your species has reached a technological threshold that requires immediate categorization and governance. Elena's lips curved into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Around her, holographic displays began to shift, revealing layers of information that made the ambassador's neural tendrils suddenly contract, a sign of unexpected confusion. Categorization, she repeated, her voice calm and measured. An interesting choice of words. Behind her, a constellation of data points began to assemble. Satellite network configurations, quantum communication protocols, global defense grid specifications. Each piece of information was a carefully crafted message. The displays weren't just presentations, they were a warning. Vexnar's neural tendrils began to pulse with an unusual frequency. The human in front of him was not displaying the expected emotional responses. No fear, no submission. Only a calculated, almost predatory focus. The Concordance has integrated over 312 civilizations, the ambassador continued, attempting to regain narrative control. Your technological development, while promising, is still in its infancy. Our guidance is not a suggestion. It is a necessity. Elena pressed a single button on the table. Instantly, the room's holographic displays transformed. What had been passive data became an intricate, three-dimensional representation of Earth's defensive capabilities. Quantum-encrypted communication networks that could not be penetrated. Gravitational manipulation technologies that could neutralize incoming threats. Adaptive AI systems that could process threat scenarios faster than any known galactic intelligence. Infancy, she said, her voice now carrying a razor-sharp edge. I believe you may have misunderstood our current status. The Concordance ambassador's crystalline form began to shimmer, a biological response to extreme cognitive dissonance. The information being presented contradicted every piece of intelligence in their massive database. Embedded within the holographic displays were subtle demonstrations, a satellite network that could redirect incoming vessels with gravitational pulses, communication systems that could encrypt messages using quantum entanglement techniques that made interception impossible, defense grids that could neutralize threats before they even entered Earth's orbital space. We are not seeking integration, Elena continued. We are presenting our terms of engagement. Each word was carefully chosen. Each projection, a calculated reveal of humanity's preparedness. The room itself was becoming a psychological battlefield, with Elena Rodriguez as the primary strategist. Vexnar's neural tendrils, usually a precise instrument of emotional and intellectual assessment, were now frantically attempting to process the overwhelming information. Humans were supposed to be a developing species, curious, somewhat primitive, easily guided. What was being presented was nothing short of a technological ecosystem that defied all expected developmental patterns. The crystalline ambassador realized, with a growing sense of unease, that this was not a negotiation. This was a declaration. Outside the conference room, the first light of day continued to rise over New York. To any casual observer, it was just another morning. But within those quantum-locked walls, the first true conversation between humanity and the wider galaxy was taking an unexpected turn. Elena Rodriguez smiled, a gesture that would be remembered in diplomatic circles for generations to come. Dr. Akira Tanaka watched the global communication network come alive with a precision that bordered on orchestral. From his command center beneath the Tokyo Institute of Advanced Technologies, he oversaw the most ambitious technological transformation in human history. The room hummed with an energy that was equal parts excitement and calculated determination. Massive holographic displays tracked the metamorphosis happening across every technological system on the planet. What appeared to be simple software updates were actually intricate layers of quantum-encrypted defensive protocols. Each line of code was a weapon, each network node a potential shield. "Initiate Phase 2, Tanaka muttered into his communication implant. Around the world, teams of scientists and engineers worked with unprecedented coordination. In Silicon Valley, a group of programmers redesigned communication protocols that would make traditional interception methods obsolete. Quantum entanglement communication nodes began coming online, creating a global network that defied conventional understanding of information transfer. In Sao Paulo, a team led by Dr. Mariana Costa was completing the final calibrations on adaptive satellite defense systems. These were not mere tracking or communication satellites. Each one was a sophisticated piece of technology that could instantaneously analyze, redirect, or neutralize potential threats with a level of precision that would make most advanced civilizations pause in disbelief. The Concordance's intelligence-gathering probes were about to encounter something entirely unexpected. The first probe approached Earth's orbital line, its advanced scanning systems primed to gather comprehensive data. Its quantum scanning array began to activate, reaching out with tendrils of information-gathering technology that had broken through countless planetary defenses before. Nothing could have prepared it for what happened next. The probe didn't explode. It didn't transmit a distress signal. It simply disappeared. Not destroyed, not damaged, completely erased from existence. One moment it was there, the next it was gone, leaving behind no trace, no signal, no evidence of its fate. In the Concordance's central intelligence hub, alarm systems began to light up. One probe vanishing could be an anomaly. But within the next 3 hours, 17 additional probes met the exact same fate. Back in Tokyo, Dr. Tanaka allowed himself the slightest smile. "Communication teams, status report," he called out. A young engineer named Hiroshi responded, his fingers dancing across holographic interfaces. "Global quantum network is at 98.7% integration. Adaptive encryption protocols are functioning at peak efficiency. We've successfully implemented the multi-layered information scrambling technique." What they had created was more than a defensive network. It was a living, breathing technological ecosystem that could adapt, redirect, and neutralize threats in ways that defied traditional understanding of communication and defense systems. In the Andes Mountains, a massive underground facility housed the core of Earth's new technological infrastructure. Quantum servers cooled by revolutionary liquid nitrogen alternatives processed information at speeds that would make most supercomputers look like mechanical calculators. Each server was not just a storage device, but an intelligent node in a global network of unprecedented complexity. Dr. Elena Rodriguez joined the communication briefly, her image appearing as a holographic projection in Tanaka's command center. Progress report. "Complete system integration in less than 12 hours, Tanaka responded. "The Concordance won't be able to track, scan, or penetrate our new network." The transformation was happening with such speed and precision that it seemed almost supernatural. Traditional communication satellites were being replaced by quantum entanglement nodes that could transmit information instantaneously, with encryption methods that were mathematically impossible to break. Global cooperation had reached a level never before seen in human history. Nations that had once competed were now working with a unity of purpose that was breathtaking. Every technological resource, every scientific breakthrough, was being consolidated into a single, powerful defensive strategy. As the final quantum nodes came online, Dr. Tanaka looked at the global map. What used to be individual communication networks were now a single, adaptive intelligence system. It wasn't just a defense mechanism. It was a statement. A declaration that humanity would control its own technological destiny. The Concordance's intelligence teams would spend months trying to understand what had happened. How could an entire planetary communication network transform so completely, so quickly? How could probes simply vanish without a trace? They would find no answers. Humanity had just demonstrated that they were no longer a species to be studied or controlled. They were a force to be reckoned with. The global economic war room resembled something between a mission control center and a cutting-edge stock exchange. Holographic displays flickered with real-time data from every continent, tracking resources, innovations, and economic flows with millisecond precision. Dr. Sophia Chen, the lead architect of Earth's economic defense strategy, stood at the center of this technological marvel, her eyes scanning multiple information streams simultaneously. When the Concordance implemented their trade blockade, most species would have crumbled. Humanity did something entirely unexpected. Activate Project Sustainability. Chen spoke quietly into her communication implant. Around the world, a complex economic metamorphosis began. In the Sahara Desert, massive solar collection arrays that had been developing in secret for decades came online. These were not simple solar farms. They were revolutionary energy generation complexes that could convert solar energy with an efficiency that made traditional power generation look like a primitive campfire. Simultaneously, in the Amazon rainforest, a network of biotechnology research centers activated a global ecosystem restoration project. Genetically engineered plants began rapidly converting carbon dioxide, creating oxygen and generating sustainable biomass at an unprecedented rate. What appeared to be an environmental restoration project was actually a sophisticated economic weapon. In the mountains of Tibet, quantum recycling centers came online. These were not mere recycling facilities. They were molecular reconstruction laboratories that could break down waste at the atomic level and reconstruct it into valuable resources. A plastic bottle could be transformed into high-grade industrial materials within minutes. The Concordance's economic advisors watched in growing confusion. Their blockade was supposed to create scarcity, to force submission. Instead, humanity was becoming more self-sufficient with each passing hour. Dr. Miguel Rodriguez, Sophia Chen's chief economic strategist, began coordinating with global leaders. We're not just defending, he explained during a secure holographic conference. We're rewriting the entire concept of resource management. Fusion energy breakthroughs in South Korea eliminated traditional energy dependencies. Advanced manufacturing centers in Nigeria began producing technologies that could create entire infrastructure systems from locally sourced materials. The Brazilian team had developed ecosystem restoration technologies that could transform desert regions into productive landscapes within months. What the Concordance didn't understand was that humanity had been preparing for this moment for decades. Every potential economic pressure point had been anticipated. Every potential resource limitation had been studied and countered. In the underwater research facilities off the coast of Japan, marine biotechnology teams were developing sustainable food production systems that could feed entire continents. Vertical farming technologies combined with advanced genetic engineering meant that food could be produced anywhere, with minimal resources. Economic independence is our primary objective, Chen explained to her team. We're not just surviving the blockade. We're demonstrating that we don't need external trade to thrive. The global economic transformation was happening with such speed and precision that it seemed almost supernatural. Countries that had once competed were now working with a unity of purpose that was breathtaking. Every technological resource, every scientific breakthrough, was being consolidated into a single, powerful economic strategy. Quantum communication networks allowed for instantaneous resource allocation. An agricultural breakthrough in Argentina could be implemented in Africa within hours. A manufacturing innovation in China could be adapted in Brazil almost instantly. The Concordance's economic advisors began to realize they were dealing with something unprecedented. This wasn't just economic resistance. This was a complete reimagining of how a planetary economy could function. Fusion energy complexes came online in regions that had previously struggled with energy poverty. Advanced recycling technologies meant that waste was no longer a problem. It was a resource. Ecosystem restoration projects were turning deserts into productive landscapes. Dr. Chen watched the global economic map transform in real time. What used to be individual economic systems were now a single, adaptive, intelligent network. It wasn't just an economic defense mechanism. It was a statement, a declaration that humanity would control its own economic destiny. The Concordance's economic intelligence teams would spend months trying to understand what had happened. How could a planetary economic system transform so completely, so quickly? How could a species under economic pressure not just survive, but thrive? They would find no answers. Humanity had just demonstrated that they were no longer a species to be economically manipulated. They were a force of economic innovation that defied all previous understanding. As the first day of the economic transformation came to a close, Dr. Sophia Chen allowed herself a small smile. The blockade was not just ineffective. It had become an opportunity for humanity to showcase its true potential. Colonel Marcus Wright stood in the underground command center beneath the Colorado Rocky Mountains, a facility that looked more like an advanced research complex than a traditional military installation. Holographic displays surrounded him, each one a window into a global network of defensive capabilities that defied conventional understanding of military strategy. The wall-sized display showed a real-time global defense grid, a living, breathing system of technological innovation that made traditional military concepts look like ancient history. Each dot represented not just a defensive position, but an adaptive, intelligent node in humanity's unprecedented protective network. "Initiate Global Defense Protocol Omega," Wright commanded, his voice steady and precise. Around the world, a military transformation began that would rewrite every known concept of planetary defense. In the Arctic research facilities, quantum entanglement communication systems came online. These were not simple communication networks. They were advanced systems that could transmit information instantaneously, with encryption methods that made traditional interception techniques look like child's play. Drone development centers in India activated their most advanced projects. These were not mere flying machines, but intelligent systems with neural networks that could process tactical scenarios faster than any biological intelligence. Each drone was a mobile computing platform, capable of independent decision-making, threat assessment, and strategic response. The facility in the Brazilian rainforest housed the most advanced AI tactical systems ever conceived. Machine learning algorithms developed over decades could predict conflict scenarios with terrifying accuracy. These were not predictive models. They were living strategic intelligences that could adapt to changing battlefield conditions in microseconds. Colonel Wright watched as the global defensive network came to full activation. Satellite systems that could manipulate gravitational fields, adaptive camouflage technologies that could render entire military installations invisible, defensive systems that could neutralize incoming threats before they even entered planetary space. "Status report," he called out. Lieutenant Aisha Khan, his chief tactical analyst, responded instantly. "Global defense grid at 99.8% integration. Adaptive response systems are fully operational. Quantum communication networks are stable." What the Concordance didn't understand was that humanity's military preparation was not about traditional warfare. It was about creating a defensive ecosystem so advanced, so intelligent, that the very concept of invasion became mathematically improbable. In the underground facilities beneath the Andes, advanced weapon systems that defied conventional physics were coming online. Gravitational manipulation technologies that could redirect entire fleets. Energy dissipation fields that could neutralize incoming attacks before they even reached planetary atmosphere. The military strategy was elegantly simple: make any potential invasion so complex, so mathematically impossible, that it would never be attempted. Drone swarms developed in collaboration with global research centers could create defensive networks that were almost organic in their complexity. Each drone was not just a weapon. It was an intelligent node in a planetary defensive system. "We're not preparing for war," Colonel Wright explained to his top strategists during a secure briefing. "We're creating a defensive ecosystem that makes war mathematically improbable." Advanced AI systems could predict potential conflict scenarios with such precision that they could neutralize threats before they even fully formed. Tactical response networks could adapt faster than any biological intelligence could comprehend. In the Pacific Ocean, underwater defense facilities housed technologies that could manipulate oceanic environments. Acoustic systems that could create defensive barriers, quantum communication nodes that could track potential threats across entire planetary systems. The global military transformation was happening with such speed and precision that it seemed almost supernatural. Research centers that had once competed were now working with a unity of purpose that was breathtaking. Every technological resource, every scientific breakthrough, was being consolidated into a single, powerful defensive strategy. Colonel Wright watched the global defense map transform in real time. What used to be individual military systems were now a single, adaptive, intelligent network. It wasn't just a defensive mechanism. It was a statement, a declaration that humanity would control its own planetary security. The Concordance's military intelligence teams would spend months trying to understand what had happened. How could a planetary defensive system transform so completely, so quickly? How could a species prepare such a comprehensive defensive network? They would find no answers. Humanity had just demonstrated that they were no longer a species to be militarily threatened. They were a force of defensive innovation that defied all previous understanding. As the first phase of global defense activation came to a close, Colonel Marcus Wright allowed himself a moment of quiet satisfaction. The potential invasion was not just impossible, it had become an opportunity for humanity to showcase its true defensive potential. The Concordance fleet approached Earth's orbital line with the confidence of a civilization that had subjugated hundreds of species. Admiral Vexnar's flagship, the Celestial Dominance, led a formation of 247 warships. Each one a technological marvel that had crushed countless civilizations before. Quantum scanners activated, probing for defensive systems. Nothing could have prepared them for what happened next. The first wave of ships suddenly lost all power. Not a gradual system failure, not a partial communication breakdown. Complete, instantaneous technological paralysis. Navigation systems went dark. Weapon arrays became inert. Faster than light drives, simply stopped functioning. Lieutenant Commander Elena Rodriguez watched from Earth's primary defense control center, her fingers dancing across holographic interfaces. Each movement was a precise command that rippled through the most advanced defensive network ever conceived. "Tactical Demonstration Phase 1, she announced calmly. The Concordance fleet hung in space like a collection of expensive, lifeless sculptures. No alarms. No distress signals, just absolute, complete technological neutralization. Inside the Celestial Dominance, Admiral Vexnar's neural tendrils began to pulse with a frequency that signaled complete cognitive dissonance. Their most advanced scanning technologies couldn't even determine what had happened. The ships weren't destroyed. They weren't damaged. They were simply disabled. Aboard each vessel, crew members looked at their control panels in growing horror. Emergency systems should have activated. Backup power should have kicked in. But nothing responded. It was as if every single technological system had been simultaneously and completely shut down. Quantum interference pattern confirmed. A voice announced in the Earth Defense Control Center. Dr. Akira Tanaka stood beside Alina, his eyes fixed on the holographic representation of the now disabled fleet. The demonstration was deliberate, precise, a message written in the language of technological superiority. Additional scanning waves began to pass through the fleet. Not weapons, not attacks. Something far more terrifying. A complete technological assessment that left no system unexamined. Each pass revealed the extent of humanity's capabilities. The Concordance ships weren't just disabled. They were completely mapped, analyzed, and understood. They wanted a show of force, Alina muttered. We're giving them a demonstration of true power. Holographic displays began to populate with detailed schematics of each Concordance vessel. Every technological system, every defensive mechanism, every potential weapon was now completely understood. The invasion fleet had become nothing more than an open book. In the Concordance's central command, panic began to spread. How could an entire fleet be neutralized so completely? How could a supposedly developing species demonstrate such comprehensive technological control? The ships remained perfectly positioned. No drift, no random movement, just absolute, precise stillness, a testament to the level of control humanity had demonstrated. Dr. Sophia Chen joined the command center, her economic strategy team having prepared for this exact moment. Communication channels are open, she announced, but on our terms. The message was clear. Humanity was not asking for permission. They were dictating the terms of engagement. As hours passed, the disabled fleet remained a silent testament to human technological capabilities. No rescue attempts were possible. No communication could penetrate the quantum interference field that surrounded them. Inside the Earth Defense Control Center, the mood was one of calculated precision. This was more than a defensive demonstration. It was a clear warning to the entire galactic community. Tactical assessment complete. Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez announced. Demonstration Phase 2 ready to initiate. The holographic displays began to show potential scenarios. Each one demonstrated not just the ability to disable the fleet, but the capacity to do so with such precision that not a single life was at risk. The Concordance crew remained safe, just completely, utterly powerless. Admiral Vexnar's neural tendrils, usually a precise instrument of emotional and intellectual assessment, were now frantically attempting to process the overwhelming information. This was not a military engagement. This was a comprehensive demonstration of technological superiority that defied every known galactic standard. As the final tactical assessment completed, the message became crystal clear. Humanity was not a species to be threatened. They were a force of technological innovation that could neutralize an entire invasion fleet without firing a single weapon. The galaxy would be watching, and humanity had just redefined the rules of engagement. The United Nations Assembly Hall transformed into something entirely unprecedented. Holographic representatives from every nation filled the space, a global network of decision-makers unified in a way humanity had never achieved before. Dr. Alina Rodriguez stood at the center, her presence both a diplomatic marvel and a strategic statement. Massive displays tracked the global reaction to humanity's demonstration against the Concordance. Real-time data streams showed a complex web of diplomatic communications, economic assessments, and technological evaluations happening simultaneously across the planet. "We are not seeking conflict," Rodriguez began, her voice resonating through quantum communication networks that reached far beyond the physical assembly. "We are establishing a new paradigm of interstellar engagement. Around the world, research centers, diplomatic corps, and strategic think tanks worked with unprecedented coordination. The disabled Concordance fleet remained a silent testament to humanity's capabilities, a message that required no words. In the diplomatic communication centers, teams worked to craft a response that was both precise and revolutionary. Each communication was a carefully constructed piece of strategic dialogue, designed to communicate humanity's position without aggression. The global reaction was complex. Some species watched in terror, Others watched in fascination. But no one could deny the fundamental shift that had just occurred in galactic politics. Ambassador Chen from the United Nations Extraterrestrial Engagement Division broke down the strategic approach. "We're not just defending," she explained to a gathering of global leaders. "We're redefining the entire concept of interstellar diplomacy." Quantum communication networks began to pulse with carefully crafted messages. Not threats, not declarations of war, but a comprehensive demonstration of humanity's technological and diplomatic capabilities. Research centers around the world began compiling comprehensive reports. The technological demonstration wasn't just a military exercise. It was a complete systemic analysis of interstellar engagement protocols. In the academic centers of Beijing, scientists were already developing comprehensive studies on the technological implications. In the diplomatic training facilities of Geneva, new approaches to extraterrestrial negotiations were being drafted. The Concordance's diplomatic court found themselves in an unprecedented situation. Their most advanced fleet had been completely neutralized without a single shot being fired. No weapons had been used. No lives had been threatened. The ships were simply suspended in a state of complete technological stand-down. "We are offering a new model of engagement," Rodriguez continued in the UN Assembly. "Not conquest, not submission, but mutual understanding based on technological respect." Global communication networks began to show something extraordinary. Nations that had previously competed were now working with a unity of purpose that was breathtaking. Every diplomatic resource, every strategic insight was being consolidated into a single, powerful approach. The diplomatic transformation was happening with such speed and precision that it seemed almost supernatural. What used to be individual diplomatic approaches were now a single, adaptive, intelligent network of global communication. Intelligence agencies around the world began compiling comprehensive reports. The technological demonstration revealed more than just defensive capabilities. It showed a level of systemic understanding that went far beyond traditional military concepts. In the research facilities of Mumbai, teams were already developing comprehensive diplomatic engagement protocols. In the strategic think tanks of Berlin, new models of interstellar communication were being drafted. The message was clear: humanity would not be categorized, would not be controlled, would not be integrated into existing galactic structures. As the global diplomatic network processed the demonstration, a new understanding began to emerge. This was not an act of aggression. This was a comprehensive redefinition of interstellar engagement. The Concordance's diplomatic intelligence teams would spend months trying to understand the full implications of what had occurred. How could a species demonstrate such comprehensive control without using traditional diplomatic or military approaches? They would find no simple answers. Humanity had just demonstrated that they were no longer a species to be diplomatically manipulated. They were a force of strategic innovation that defied all previous galactic understanding. As the first phase of global diplomatic response came to a close, Dr. Elena Rodriguez allowed herself a moment of quiet satisfaction. The potential diplomatic confrontation was not just neutralized, it had become an opportunity for humanity to showcase its true potential. The galaxy was watching, and humanity had just changed the rules of engagement forever. The negotiation chamber was unlike any diplomatic space the Concordance had ever encountered. Located in a neutral orbital facility, it was a masterpiece of technological and architectural design. Every surface a potential communication interface, every wall capable of displaying multiple layers of information simultaneously. Dr. Elena Rodriguez sat at the center of the circular negotiation table, her presence radiating a calm that was more intimidating than any show of force. Beside her, a team of specialists from various disciplines, legal experts, technological strategists, cultural anthropologists, and quantum communication specialists, represented humanity's comprehensive approach. The Concordance delegation arrived with their traditional diplomatic entourage: neural-linked advisors, holographic data streams, and centuries of galactic negotiation experience. What they didn't realize was that humanity had been preparing for this moment for decades. "We will not be integrated," Rodriguez began, her first statement cutting through typical diplomatic pleasantries. "We will not be categorized. We will not be controlled." The holographic displays around the chamber began to populate with layers of information. Not threats, not aggressive posturing, but a comprehensive demonstration of humanity's capabilities and intentions. Each display showed a different aspect of human potential: scientific breakthroughs, technological innovations, economic models, ecological restoration projects, cultural achievements, not as a boast, but as a statement of existence. The Concordance representatives' neural tendrils began to pulse with confusion. This was not a typical negotiation. This was a complete redefinition of diplomatic engagement. "Our proposal is simple," Rodriguez continued. "Mutual respect, controlled information exchange, absolute planetary sovereignty." The legal document that materialized on the negotiation table was a masterpiece of diplomatic engineering. Written in a language that was simultaneously precise and adaptable, it laid out terms that would make most galactic civilizations balk. Complete planetary autonomy, strictly controlled technological exchanges, no military presence within specified astronomical units, a communication protocol that allowed for dialogue without interference. Dr. Marcus Chen, the lead legal strategist, began to break down the proposal. Each clause was a carefully constructed mechanism that prevented any potential manipulation. The language was so precise that it would take decades to find potential loopholes. "You misunderstand our intention," the lead Concordance diplomat attempted to interject. Rodriguez raised a single hand. The gesture was enough to pause the entire diplomatic flow. The holographic displays shifted, showing the disabled Concordance fleet, not as a threat, but as a simple demonstration of capabilities, a reminder of the technological gulf that existed. "We are offering a path of mutual understanding," she explained. "Not submission, not conquest, but genuine, controlled engagement." The proposal went beyond typical diplomatic frameworks. It included mechanisms for technological exchange that were revolutionary: controlled research collaboration, strictly monitored scientific partnerships, communication channels that allowed for dialogue without compromising planetary security. Cultural exchange protocols were particularly innovative: not forced integration, but carefully managed interactions that preserve human cultural integrity while allowing for controlled knowledge sharing. Economic clauses demonstrated humanity's understanding of galactic trade systems, not isolation, but a carefully managed approach that protected planetary interests while allowing for strategic collaborations. The Concordance delegation found themselves in an unprecedented situation. Humanity was not asking for permission. They were dictating the terms of engagement. Each page of the proposal was a strategic masterpiece: legal language that was simultaneously inclusive and protective, technological exchange mechanisms that allowed for progress without compromising security, communication protocols that ensured transparency while maintaining absolute planetary sovereignty. "We are not seeking your approval," Rodriguez said, her voice calm and precise. "We are presenting our terms of engagement." The negotiation chamber fell into a profound silence. The Concordance representatives' neural networks were working overtime, processing the unprecedented diplomatic approach. This was more than a negotiation. This was a comprehensive redefinition of interstellar diplomatic engagement. As the proposal materialized in its final form, it became clear that humanity was not just another species to be categorized or controlled. They were a civilization that would define its own destiny. The galaxy would be watching, and humanity had just changed the rules of diplomatic engagement forever. The first human exploration vessels emerged from Earth's solar system like a promise and a warning. They were not ships of conquest. They were not vessels of submission. They were a declaration of humanity's absolute right to exist on its own terms. Captain Miranda Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the HSV Horizon, the lead ship of humanity's first interstellar exploration fleet. Around her, a crew that represented the global unity humanity had achieved watched the star fields with a mixture of anticipation and calculated determination. Navigation systems online, Lieutenant Akira Chen reported. Quantum communication arrays functioning at optimal levels. The ships were technological marvels that defied every previous understanding of spacecraft design. Adaptive hull materials that could modify their molecular structure to respond to environmental challenges, propulsion systems that manipulated spacetime itself, communication networks that could transmit information across impossible distances with absolute security. Each vessel carried more than just a crew. They carried humanity's collective aspiration, a comprehensive record of human knowledge, technological innovations, and cultural achievements. Holographic displays tracked their progress, showing not just navigational data, but comprehensive information about potential encounter zones, scientific research stations, potential communication points, areas of technological and cultural interest. The galaxy was watching. In research centers across Earth, teams monitored every transmission, every data point. This was more than an exploration mission. This was a comprehensive demonstration of human capabilities. The quantum communication network allowed for instantaneous information sharing. A discovery made by one ship could be comprehensively analyzed by research teams on Earth within milliseconds. Adaptive AI systems processed potential scenarios faster than any biological intelligence could comprehend. First contact protocols are active, Captain Rodriguez announced. Not as a challenge, not as a threat, but as a statement of preparedness. The ships moved with a precision that was almost organic. Not aggressive movements, not defensive posturing, but a clear, confident progression that communicated volumes without a single aggressive gesture. Each vessel was a mobile research station, each crew member a potential ambassador. The mission was clear: explore, understand, engage, but always on humanity's terms. In the galactic diplomatic circles, the message was clear. Humanity was not seeking integration. They were not looking for permission. They were declaring their existence as an independent technological civilization. The research capabilities of these ships were unprecedented. Sensor arrays that could analyze planetary systems with molecular-level precision. Communication systems that could decode potential language structures in real time. Adaptive technologies that could respond to unknown environmental challenges with instantaneous recalibration. Potential communication zones identified. The ship's AI announced, not as a threat, but as a simple, matter-of-fact observation. The Concordants and other galactic civilizations watched with a mixture of terror and fascination. These were not the exploration vessels of a developing species. These were the first steps of a civilization that had already demonstrated its absolute right to exist. Each transmission, each movement was a carefully constructed communication. We are here. We are prepared. We will engage on our terms. The ships carried more than technological capabilities. They carried human potential, cultural diversity, scientific curiosity, a comprehensive understanding that exploration was not about conquest, but about genuine understanding. Adaptive camouflage technologies meant these vessels could approach potential communication zones without triggering defensive responses. Quantum communication networks could establish contact protocols that respected potential alien cultural boundaries. "We come in peace" was not just a statement. It was a comprehensive diplomatic and technological approach that demonstrated absolute preparation. Research teams on Earth tracked every millisecond of the mission, not as controllers, but as collaborative partners in humanity's greatest adventure. The first potential communication zones began to appear, not as threats, not as conquests, but as opportunities for genuine, controlled engagement. Captain Rodriguez looked out at the star fields. This was more than a mission of exploration. This was humanity's declaration to the galaxy. We are here. We are prepared. We will define our own destiny. The HSV Horizon moved forward, not as a conqueror, not as a supplicant, but as a representative of a civilization that had already demonstrated its absolute right to exist among the stars. The galaxy was watching, and humanity had just begun its journey.